Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Artists in Isolation. I'm Johnny Bergmann from Lower Cape Television. This is Jackson, and we are joined today by Marc Kundmann, who is an encaustic artist living in Truro and working in Provincetown. Hi, Marc. How are you doing today?
Hi, Johnny. I'm doing great, actually. Hanging in there, as well as anyone could be doing. So I'm not sick, so that's good.
That's awesome. How have you been keeping connected with your fans and during this time?
I've been just documenting my work a lot more and just putting it out there and hoping people find that, interesting. It's been interesting for me to I've always documented my work, like, before I start or my first, like, just every day, usually I take a picture about, showing where I was at that particular point, because it helps me kind of backtrack and look at my work throughout the process. And sometimes I lose things, and it's a way for me to maybe get them back or just mourn them, mourn them, because sometimes you just can't. But also, like, when you look at something on a screen or get some distance to it, it lets you, somehow I see different things in it than if I'm standing in front of it, which seems strange, but it really lets you look at it in different ways. But what I've been doing more so now is actually making these little videos with time lapse, because, like, who wants to watch paint dry, basically, is what half a painting is. You have to wait. A friend of mine described one of the videos I made as like getting to watch a video of a flower opening up, and I thought that was really sweet of her to say. So
Yeah, it's a flower blossoming. Your painting is like blossoming in front of you. It's really fun to watch your time lapses because your method is so interesting in that it's like what you're creating in the beginning may have nothing to do with the eventual painting.
yeah.
So it's just fascinating to see that. And that, like you said, it is like a flower blossoming because obviously that one little thing becomes something completely different in the end.
Yeah, yeah, and that's just that's the way I've worked, and I like that because, I mean, for me, the painting is definitely the process and the physical nature of it, and the surprise. I often wish that that I could just paint something that's in front of me and be happy with that, because it probably would make my life easier. But anyway, maybe not as fun.
Not as fun to watch either because then you're having these wonderful transformations right in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really cool. So has the quarantine or isolating, has that changed the way you're working at all or?
Maybe I'm a little more frugal because I have to be, because for it's the problem for painters. It's like the catch 22. You can't create without like having an income stream, because the materials are not cheap, and especially, I work on wood panels, or in the past I have. Before this all started, I actually started a new way of working, which is to work on large sheets of oil paper. So it's a really heavy duty paper that's made for painting, and I had purchased a roll of like 150 feet of it, and I haven't had to rely on having panels around, because I can just cut a sheet of this paper and throw it up on the wall and start painting. Right now, what you're seeing is just charcoal and acrylic painting. And that's how I've been starting my paintings. And then on top of that, eventually I'll start working with oil and wax, just to get the sort of the layers, and it becomes more like the encaustic work that I used to do and still do, but this is much easier to do in difficult times. So this has been my saving grace, is this new way of painting.
So it looks to me like what you have here is a lot of people who are grouped together and they aren't social distancing.
No, they aren't. And that's very interesting that you say that, because this painting I started with I just transferred a bunch of drawings. And actually I can show you those. Again, they're kind of in some of the videos I posted, but I'll use a lot of my life drawing sketches. So I had a lot of these charcoal sketches, and I transferred those right onto the paper, and they were all kind of masked in the middle. But then I started drawing, expanding on it. I wasn't really trying to paint those drawings exactly. I just wanted something to put up onto the canvas and respond to. And so, yeah, it has sort of expanded. I mean, it looks a bit like I hate to say this, like kind of like a manger, a manger scene at the moment. No,
Yeah, the manger,
you know
but
what I
yeah.
mean? It's like, and I'm sure it's not going to end up that way, but
Well, the way some of the faces are melting too, it almost makes me think of the plague.
well, uh, I don't, as I always say, I don't consciously like try to illustrate anything, but whatever is in my head subconsciously is gonna show up here, no matter what. And the part of like using the acrylic paints as my underpainting is I use a very liquid form of them, and so they do a lot of this running and dripping, which uh, is part of the connection to my encaustic painting, which had a lot of melting wax that was running and dripping. So that's why, yes, it does, yeah, look like they're melting in there. Maybe not. Yeah, there's something going on there. But in my head, I was like, well, maybe I'll turn this into a beach, to be optimistic, and they'll turn into some sort of beach painting, which is figures on the beach. But
So do you
um,
feel like the coronavirus has sort of seeped into your work, either consciously or subconsciously?
that's I think I'll need to look back in a year or two, and I think that will probably reveal itself. I don't like to think too much about it, and it does always happen with my work, though, that if I look back at it in a couple of years, it's I definitely have a better sense of why I painted what I was painting. And it usually always has to do with what's going on in my life at the time. But I, at the time, I'm usually not conscious of it, or I try not to be, because if I think too much about that kind of thing, then it kind of stifles the physical activity of painting for me. Then it becomes like more like illustration, that I'm illustrating an idea as opposed to creating a painting. And those are two very different things.
And so are there any things that you particularly want to get accomplished during this time, or are you just working?
No, I mean, I guess really my hope is that I get a nice mass of work together so that I actually, can have the show be successful in August. Um, but I don't, my intent in my painting is no different at this point. Yeah, I don't, I don't have anything other than, um, I guess I really want to use this time to be more, I guess, playful and exploratory with the work I'm doing, not constrain myself as much as perhaps maybe I have in the past.
Yeah, no reason to hold it back now.
No. Where else are we going to go?
I don't know. Is there anything that you'd like to leave with? Any message for our viewers or your fans?
I mean, I guess I just hope everyone can stay positive and be nice to each other, and start thinking about the things you would like to do with your life at this point, or would like to do with your time, um, because it does, it is pretty sobering. That suddenly I've never, I mean, I'm 56, and I've never in my life have experienced something like this. A lot of things have happened in those years, but I've never been told to not leave the house, or to be isolate, not talk to your friends. I can't even imagine what this would have been like before, doing what we're doing right now, being able to do what we're doing. I mean, that would have been isolating.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to do this. It's a pleasure, as always. So I love talking about the work, and thank you, Johnny.